Titch by Pat Hutchins. Titch by Pat Hutchins. For Darren. Titch was little. His sister Mary was a bit bigger, and his brother Pete was a lot bigger. Pete had a great big bike. Mary had a big bike. And Titch had a little tricycle. Pete had a kite that flew high above the trees. Mary had a kite that flew high above the houses. And Titch had a pinwheel that he held in his hand. Pete had a big drum. Mary had a trumpet. And Titch had a little wooden whistle. Pete had a big saw. Mary had a big hammer. And Titch held the nails. Pete had a big spade. Mary had a fat flower pot. But Titch had the tiny seed. And Titch's seed grew and grew and grew. Okay, friends, so we just read the book Titch by Pat Hutchins, and now I wanted to share some writing about family things. So in the book, the author was talking about how the little boy couldn't do certain things with his family, and then he finally could. He really wanted to do the big kid things, but he finally found something that he could do with them. So today we're going to write about some things that we do with our families, and the garden reminded me of something that we used to do when my kids were younger. So I'm going to draw our family, and remember that I just use shapes. So I'm going to draw an oval for a body, and in this picture there's going to be 4 of us. Mr. Ross, Mrs. Ross, Marshall, and Emmy. And so I'll do my ovals for all of those people. And then each of those people need a head. So I'm going to do a circle for their head. This oval kind of didn't get, there we go. All right, make that one a little better. Okay, so we've got our circles for our head, our ovals for our bodies, and then we're gonna do rectangles for legs. And we're just gonna do rectangles for arms. And I won't make you sit and watch me do all of the drawing, but I wanted you to know that this is going to be Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross has a little bit of hair. This is Mrs. Ross, and Mrs. Ross, I always draw my hair the same way. And then this is Marshall. I think I'm going to put a hat on Marshall, so you know that that's Marshall. And Emmy likes to wear her hair in a ponytail. So let's see, I'm going to make her hair go back like this and have a little ponytail coming off. So this is Emmy. This is Marshall. This is me. Oh, just so you know that that's me, I better put the word M-E. That's me. And then this is Mr. Ross. Now, I'm not going to worry about putting all the rest of the legs and arms on here. I can add that part later and all those pieces later. But the story that I wanted to tell you was about the garden. And in this story, we all have a shovel because it is potato digging day. And the one thing that I think we did a really good job at growing when the kids were younger was potatoes. And so this is our garden area over here. And I can put Emmy standing on that garden area. And inside of this big dirt pile, there are all sorts of potatoes that are hidden down there. And we just need to take some time to dig them up. So here's some more arms. Here's another shovel. Remember, I don't need to worry about if my drawing is perfect or fancy. Don't need to worry about making shoes. I can just do simple shapes. Ovals for feet, rectangles for arms, circles for heads. And I better tell you that these are potatoes down here, potatoes. So I'm going to do a P for potatoes. So if I were going to tell you this story, I would say my family planted potatoes and we got to dig them up. So it's really important to be able to tell the story. So as you're drawing your story today, I don't want you to just say, that's me, that's Emmy, that's Mr. Ross. I want you to tell me what happened. So we planted potatoes and then we got to dig them up. If you can, you might want to put some people's names on here. Like this is Emmy, and Emmy begins with an E. This is Marshall, and Marshall begins with an M. This is Mr. Ross. I'm just going to write his name, Mr. Ross. And I put my P for potatoes, and I might even want to write my story down here. I know lots of kids in kindergarten are able to write full sentences. So I'm just going to write maybe something really simple like, we dug potatoes with a period at the end. And then I'm all finished with my writing. As long as I make sure I tell my story to my teacher and take a picture of my writing as I'm turning it in. Okay, friends, give it a try.